The story begins with the main character standing at the edge of an unknown kingdom ruled by powerful beasts. Her fate feels sealed as she walks forward, leaving her old life behind. She was chosen as a sacrifice to appease the ruler of beasts, a terrifying king whose name makes even the bravest tremble. As she approaches the grand gates of the palace, fear grips her, but so does determination. The palace is massive, built with walls that seem to touch the sky. Each step forward is heavier than the last. What will become of her once she meets the king? She cannot help but wonder, why was she chosen? Was it simply bad luck, or is there another reason? Inside the palace, the air feels thick, almost alive. Guards with sharp, watchful eyes escort her through long, shadowy halls. Her heart pounds louder with every step. Finally, she is brought before the king himself. He sits on a throne carved from stone, his presence more overwhelming than she could have imagined. His golden eyes pierce through her, as if seeing right into her soul. But then something unexpected happens. Instead of roaring in anger or striking her down, the king simply looks at her. His gaze is heavy, yet not cruel. He speaks, his voice commanding but calm, asking her name. She stammers as she answers. Why is he speaking to her at all? Days turn into weeks, and she learns the strange ways of the palace. To her surprise, the king does not treat her as a prisoner. He allows her freedom to roam the palace grounds, though always under the watchful eyes of the guards. She notices the king's quiet nature, the way he carries a weight no one else seems to see. Slowly, curiosity replaces her fear. One day, she stumbles upon a hidden garden while exploring. The garden is unlike anything she has ever seen, filled with rare flowers and a peaceful stillness that feels almost magical. She feels drawn to it and decides to return often. It becomes her sanctuary, a place where she feels safe. But her peace is interrupted when the king himself appears in the garden. At first, she freezes, unsure of his intentions. He surprises her again by speaking softly, sharing a piece of his story. He tells her of the curse that binds him to his monstrous form, a curse that isolates him from everyone else. As she listens, she feels a pang of sympathy. Beneath his terrifying exterior, he is just as lonely as she is. Do you think understanding someone's pain can truly change how you see them? As the days pass, her bond with the king begins to grow. Their conversations become more frequent, and she starts to see a side of him no one else does. But not everyone in the palace approves of her presence. The other beasts see her as a threat, a human who does not belong in their world. Whispers of rebellion reach her ears one night. She overhears guards speaking of a plan to overthrow the king. Her blood runs cold. Should she tell him? What if he doesn't believe her? After all, she is just a human in a kingdom of beasts. Summoning her courage, she goes to the king and tells him everything. To her surprise, he listens carefully and thanks her. His trust in her is something she never expected, and it gives her a strange sense of belonging. Together, they prepare for the storm that is coming. The rebellion strikes without warning, their roars echoing through the palace. The king fights with unmatched strength, but the rebels are relentless. She watches in horror as chaos unfolds, but instead of hiding, she steps forward, her voice cutting through the noise. She pleads with the rebels to stop, to understand that the king is not their enemy. Her words seem to reach some of them. A few lower their weapons, but not all. The rebellion is far from over. Amid the chaos, she is captured by the remaining rebels, who see her as the key to breaking the king's resolve. They drag her away to an unknown location, their intentions clear. Alone and surrounded by enemies, she refuses to give in to despair. Her thoughts turn to the king. Will he come for her? Can the bond they've built survive this? The king does not hesitate. He storms into the enemy stronghold, his roar shaking the very earth. His determination is unshakable. He will save her, no matter the cost. When he finally finds her, she is bound and surrounded by rebels. Their leader challenges the king, but the king's fury is unmatched. In a display of raw power, he defeats the rebels and frees her from her chains. For the first time, she feels truly safe in his presence. Together, they face the remaining rebels. Their combined strength, both physical and emotional, turns the tide. By the time the sun rises, the rebellion is crushed and peace is restored. Back in the garden, she looks at the king with a mix of gratitude and admiration. They have both changed. She is no longer just a sacrifice, and he is no longer just a king. Their bond has become something neither of them expected. Their journey is far from over, but one thing is clear: they will face whatever comes together. What would you do if you were in her place? Could you find the courage to trust someone so different from yourself? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories filled with courage, heart, and unforgettable moments.